There we go. All righty. Okay. So hello and welcome everyone. I am Krista Threefoot, the president of the League of Women Voters of Howard County, and I'm very happy to be able to present the event today. Unfortunately, because of a family emergency, Alan Kittleman is unable to attend today. So we will instead be conducting pre-recorded individual interviews with both of the county executive candidates, and they should be released together sometime late next week. So the only actual forum scheduled for today is the one for Sheriff's Office. So I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A huge thank you goes to the partners who helped make this possible, specifically the Horizon Foundation, the Association of Community Services of Howard County, Luminous Network for New Americans, and the Columbia Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. I'd also like to thank the candidates for taking time out of their busy schedules to support our mission of educating and empowering voters. To our viewers, we hope you find this event informative and that we see you all at the polls this fall. Don't forget, Election Day is November 8th. Early voting runs from Thursday, October 27th through Thursday, November 3rd. And we also encourage everyone to join the League. Our board has taken a hit from the pandemic, and we are in urgent need of help. We have so many big plans, but without more members or volunteers, we really can't implement them or even sustain the level of involvement that we've always had. We especially need people to help us run our social media and someone to help with fundraising. So if you're willing, get in touch. We'll be here. And so now I'll give the floor to Jackie Eng, who will be moderating the forum for the Office of Sheriff of Howard County.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Jackie Eng, representing the Association of Community Services of Howard County. I'll be moderating our session for the Office of Howard County Sheriff. Candidates will have 30 seconds to make opening statements, and will then have the opportunity to answer several questions that I'll ask, giving answers up to 1 minute for each question. The forum will end with each candidate giving a 30-second closing statement. During opening and closing statements, our timekeeper will notify you by holding up a note card when your time is up. And during the question and answer session, the timekeeper will notify you when there's 15 seconds remaining. Our candidates for sheriff are Mr. John McMahon and Mr. Marcus Harris. Thank you both very much for joining us today. Mr. McMahon, you may begin with your opening statement.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you and thank everybody who made this possible. I need help on Zoom, and Jenny Zhang is helping me today. And I thank my wife for finding a suit that almost fits. But I think I've done something for the community, and as far as the sheriff's office goes, and I hope I can answer your questions. And I'm sorry, Marcus, good afternoon, I apologize. So if you want to begin with the first question.
Oh, well, first we're going to have, thank you, Mr. McMahon. Mr. Harris, your opening statement, please.
Thank you for having this forum. My name is Marcus Harris. I am the sheriff here in Howard County. I was elected to this position in 2018. I'm a retired police detective from Baltimore County. I have approximately 20 years of law enforcement experience. I've lived in Howard County for approximately 27 years. Me and my wife chose to raise our children in Howard County. I have a freshman at Harvard and a junior at Howard High School. Here in Howard County.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
Our first question. How does your experience qualify you for this position? Start with Mr. McMahon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, can you see me? Oh, there I am.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've been involved with the county, working in the county for almost 50 years between developers in the county government. I have specifically, I have had problems in the past where I think I've done some good. I had 2 policemen censored for, let's say, covering up an investigation with the help of one of our former police chiefs. So I think that I did some help. I learned something, and I believe I did some good. I believe I did some good running against Sheriff Fitzgerald because I heard a lot of complaints, which I think turned out to be justified. And also, I think my experience in my lawsuit against Sheriff Fitzgerald.
Mr. McMahon, thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, your time is up.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris.
As I stated in my opening statement, I have approximately 20 years of law enforcement experience, now 4 years as your sheriff here in Howard County. I'm a businessman. I've owned 2 different businesses. We currently own a business now, which helps me in this role of running this office because we have to deal with the budget, and I'm dealing with over 70 individuals. And I think my resume speaks for itself at this time. I was endorsed by the FOP, the sheriff's FOP, and the police department's FOP, which I'm truly proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Our next question. If elected, what are your top 3 priorities?
Top 3 priorities would make sure the unions and the politicians don't have too much influence in the sheriff's office, and this office is more independent. That would be 1. Second, that we discuss who is the chief law enforcement officer in the county. There's 4 possible answers. Mine is the sheriff should be, not the state's attorney or the police chief. Sheriff's office should be independent and for the people. I think my time is about up, isn't it?
You have 15 seconds.
Oh, well, I think the sheriff's office should be the servant of the people and the people only.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am. The top 3 priorities. 1 would be to continue our training, increasing our training. We have a new PAB. We have PAB requirements now. So with body worn cameras and the PAB, it's very important that our deputies know their job and know the rules, our general orders. So training is always at the top of my list to make sure that our office is running properly, to continue to diversify my office, and also continue our great work in the community that we do. We were very big in the community outreach. When I took over in 2018, we created a community outreach section. We have a great partnership with the school system now. So I believe it's important for us to be in the community so that the community knows exactly what we do, get to know us, and know that they can depend on us to do the right thing and be there for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Our next question, and we'll begin with Mr. Harris. How will you involve residents in improving public safety?
For one is I have a open phone line. So anyone that calls this office, if we're not the right department that they need to be at, we make sure that we get the citizen the help that they need or to the right department that they need here in the county. I would urge the citizens of Howard County to look at organizations such as PATH. They do a lot of good work here in the community. They were very involved, and wanted to be very involved in our body worn camera process. Our office, the state's attorney's office, along with the police department, had many conversations with PATH to try to make sure we were all on the same page. And then I would just urge the citizens of Howard County, not that we have a huge problem, but if you see something, say something. If you think we could be doing something better, please give my office a call on 410-313-4202. But we're always here for the citizens of Howard County. So that would be my answer to that question.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. McMahon.
Yes, could you repeat the question?
Sure. How will you involve residents in improving public safety?
Public safety, any way possible. I'm glad we finally have body cameras. I advocated for those 10 years ago. I'm very happy about that. But civilian review, I would definitely seek out civilian review in their input, community leaders, on how we can do a better job. And I'm concerned with lack of transparency and the possibility of crime being covered up today.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Mr. Harris?
What was that question again, ma'am? I thought I went
I'm
first.
sorry. Sorry. What policies will you support to, I'm sorry. The question was, how will you involve residents in improving public safety? You answered that question. So we're
Yes,
now going to
ma'am.
move on to the next question.
Okay.
Okay, which is, all right. And Mr. McMahon will ask you to start. The question is, what policies will you support to prevent discrimination in law enforcement activities?
Well, I'm going to be redundant. I believe the laws, state, federal, and county laws are in place, and I would use those as guidance, but implementing those laws every minute I have to focus on how to do that. But the basic rule would be local, state, and government laws that are in place. And the problem would be specifically how to help the people. The individual that has a complaint, my duty would be to him or her. But the laws would be the guiding focus.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Mr. Harris?
Yes, ma'am. With policy. So I support any policy that's on the books. The deputies of Howard County know that I will hold them accountable for any policies that they break. Here at the sheriff's office, we have general orders, which pretty much duplicate the or mirror the police department's policies that are already in place. Body-worn cameras makes it pretty difficult for anyone in law enforcement now to violate or discriminate against anyone. Here at the sheriff's office, when we hire, I interview every applicant that comes through my door, and I interview them early in the process to get a feel for whether they would be a good fit to work here at the sheriff's office in Howard County. I think it's just vital that we hire the right people, along with the training that we provide when it comes to discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Our next question. How will you partner with local organizations, or what other efforts will you make to support victims of domestic violence? Mr. Harris?
As I stated earlier, we have, it's very easy to contact me, but I think we do a really good job here in Howard at the sheriff's office. We have what's called a domestic violence advocate who works at the district court. As you know, the police department handled the 911 calls that come out for domestic violence. We basically handle the back end, the paperwork. We may have to remove someone. But when it comes to domestic violence, we take it very seriously. And our domestic violence advocate, what she does is she basically walks them through the process of what they need or where they can get help. After we deal with someone with domestic violence that has domestic violence issues or has gone through domestic violence, we do what's called a welfare check. So after 7 days, after we're done dealing with the victim, we'll basically reach back out to them to make sure that they've got what they need or answer any questions they may have. Well, I won't mention her name, but when I first took over in 2018, that was one of the first people I met with that work here at the sheriff's office to make sure that we were all on the same page and that I had a good understanding of what we were doing when it came to domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McMahon?
Well, I have no problem with how the office is handling domestic violence now. I believe every possible resource through the process should be given to the victims, and any special resources that are available should be concentrated on this. And every possible way we should reach out to the victim during their complaint, all through the process and afterwards. I think we have to reach out and again seek community support from the experts. And I think at least 30% of the effort should be for the victims of domestic violence. But again, we have to go back to it. I think the laws are adequate. We have to execute.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Our next question. Considering the diverse population of Howard County, how will you ensure that the rights of people from different cultural backgrounds and those with limited English proficiency are treated fairly? Mr. McMahon?
So again, I think the laws are in place. It's a question of effort and execution and reaching out to the community and the communities that advocate and bring everybody into every possible civilian review effort we can make. But the laws are there. We have to follow them. Federal, state, county. The people need our protection. Execution is the problem, and transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harris?
First, I'd like to say we have our general orders make it very clear on how we treat citizens of Howard County, regardless of race, color, creed, whatever. Our general orders are there. Since I've taken over in 2018, I've hired 6 individuals that speak different languages. I have individuals that speak Spanish, individuals that speak Korean and Vietnamese. That was one of my main objectives when I took over, to be more diverse, to be able to service the people of Howard, the citizens of Howard County. Also, it starts at the top. Once again, the deputies that work here in the sheriff's office understands that we are public servants, and it is our job to treat everyone fairly, and that if you don't, you will be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question. How will you ensure that deputies are prepared to interact safely and respectfully with individuals who are mentally ill, cognitively impaired, developmentally disabled, or in need of other special accommodations? Mr. Harris?
Yes, ma'am. So here our deputies go through a training. It's CIT training. It's critical incident training that helps us in the field when we run across somebody with one of the issues you just mentioned. But also we have what's called the Mobile Crisis Unit. And that was here before I took over in 2018. It's a great unit. You can use them for various things, but mental illness, even if someone has passed away and the family needs someone there on the scene to talk to them, we can reach out to the Mobile Crisis Unit. We've also, since I've taken over, we started training in autism also. So every deputy once a year goes through training for autism. I'm very big on mental health with the public and also with my deputies. I just started a peer-to-peer program. We were partnering with the police department. Now we have our own peer-to-peer program so we can help the deputies as well as the citizens of Howard County.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Harris.
Yes,
Mr. McMahon?
Yes, question again, please.
How will you ensure that deputies are prepared to interact safely and respectfully with individuals who are mentally ill, cognitively impaired, developmentally disabled, or in need of other special accommodations?
Well, I think Mark has hit the nail on the head with his programs. I think he actually answered very correctly. The only other thing I could think of, if there's any complaints after the process that Marcus is talking about, that the sheriff should be open to those complaints from the family. I know people are actually imprisoned in their own house by their lawyers in Howard County. And I wish family and friends would advocate more to the sheriff's office about their concerns. Basically, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Thanks to both of you for your thoughtful responses. It's now time for closing remarks, and we will begin with Mr. McMahon.
All right. I'm concerned by the lack of transparency in the past performance of the sheriff's office, the scandals that came up. I went to court to because a former sheriff did not take the oath of office. I do not like the mission statement of the sheriff's office. Enforcement arm of the court isn't enough. The sheriff, his primary duty is to the people. His primary duty, I believe, is to be the independent and chief guardian of the people.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Mr. Harris, your closing statement?
Yes, ma'am. I'd just like to reiterate that I have 20 years of law enforcement experience. I think that I've served the community well with our community outreach efforts. We've become partners with the school system now. We've adopted elementary school here in Howard County. In the next 2 weeks, we'll start a Blessings in a Backpack program. We've worked hard to bring the Boys and Girls Club to Howard County, and hopefully in the next 2 months, that will take place to help less fortunate families that can't afford after-school care. If you have any questions about these programs, feel free to give me a call at 410-313-4202.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
This concludes the Howard County Sheriff portion of the forum. Our county executive forum is up next and will be moderated by Valerie Montague.
Actually, sorry about that, Jackie. Yeah. You were reading the script and I didn't.
I was reading the script thinking, what? Maybe they put it in because they're going to tape it together, but.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I just want to say another thank you first to the volunteers and the candidates for coming. To our viewers, we hope that the information provided helps when you go to the polls in November or the end of this month if you're voting early. Again, please join us. Please volunteer. We welcome new people. We really want to hear new perspectives. So send us an email, go on our website, find us on Facebook, and we'd be happy to talk with you. So this concludes the forum for the Office of Sheriff of Howard County. And I am going to stop the recording right now.